My Friday the 13th review was my most popular video, so now I'm going to do a ranking of the series from worst to best. Let's get with it. I want to give a shout out to Edgar Davis. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. This one's for you, man. I promised I'd do a ranking video, and here it is. This is not a top 10 favorites list. This is an objective list. I rated them based on criteria like gore, story, influence, and just plain fun. Here they are. Let's get to it. Jason's been a bad boy. So bad that hell itself wasn't bad enough for him. So they took him to space in the dumbest movie in the franchise. That was always low IQ to begin with. When a franchise goes to space, you know they're running on fumes. If you thought New York was too exotic, this one doesn't even exist on the same planet. The gore is great, though. That frozen face kill is one of the best kills in the franchise. But this one is just too stupid to take seriously. And Jason gets turned into a mechanical Terminator thing. Nobody should waste their time on this, including me. Now we have Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes a Cruise. Jason Takes Manhattan. I guess Jason wanted a vacation. Besides just being a lousy film that has boring, goreless kills, this film is very misleading. Jason actually spends more time on a boat on the way to New York than New York itself. In theory, the idea of Jason killing off a bunch of annoying, snobby New Yorkers is fun, but they're only there for like the last 20 minutes of the film. And the film is nonsensical. There's flashbacks of kid Jason, but sometimes he's mongoloid and other times he's normal looking. The ending is probably the worst in the franchise too. Jason gets drowned in toxic waste and magically turns back into a child. Okay. It's almost worth sitting through the overlong movie to see the boxing kill, though. Jason runs into a boxer who punches him till he wears himself out. He then dares Jason to give him his best shot, and Jason punches the guy's head off. It's the funniest kill in the series. Other than that, though, there's not much good to say. It's often considered the worst film in the franchise. I disagree with that, but I can see where people are coming from. And by the way, how did Crystal Lake somehow lead into the ocean? The fifth film in the series is the series' first low point. I should point out that as much as I trashed the last two films, there really is no unwatchable films in the franchise. Not all the films are good, but all of them can be enjoyed for at least guilty pleasure enjoyment. I own all the films in the franchise, and yes, I get an occasional urge to watch all of them, even Jason X. Tommy is now a teenager in a halfway house for mental patients trying to re-enter society. Of course, Jason comes back to haunt him. Oh wait, that's not true. It turns out that it is a Jason copycat who got mad because his son, who was one of the other mental patients, was brutally murdered by one of the other kids at the asylum. This movie's not bad because Jason's not in it. I think it's bad because the kills, which are the whole reason you come, are lame despite the fact that the kill count is higher than in any other film. There are only a small amount of those kills that are any good. There's also a plot hole. The guy who pretends to be Jason snapped because his son died, but it turns out he abandoned his son. So why is he so upset? And by the way, why did he have to kill all those other people when the guy who actually did it was the only one responsible? The funny thing is, that guy never gets killed. It does have one, or should I say two, big positives. This film features a chick with some of the biggest, accessories in the franchise. Actually, the film was made by a former porn director, so the TNA is really good here. At the end, they make it look like Tommy was going to be the next Jason, but when this film flopped at the box office, they went back to the OG. I'm going to do a separate video for this one someday, so I'll just give you my rating and move on. In the heat of the remake craze, it was only natural that the original got remade. But this isn't really a standard remake, because while the original featured Jason's mom as the killer, this one has our good old hockey mask wearing killer instead. This is an updated sequel rather than a true remake. The one thing the film does better than any other is the TNA. The babes are hot and plentiful. Definitely the best nudity and intimate scenes in the franchise, especially Amanda Rigetti. What a babe. Jason's no longer an undead monster. He's more like a really strong Rambo with traps. The beginning of the film is actually like a condensed version of the first two films, with Jason even wearing the old school sack, before finding his trademark hockey mask. Actually, it's like they took the first 4 movies and put them in a blender. It also features Jared Padalecki from the big hit show Supernatural. Cody Leach loves this film, but for me, it's just a nice run-of-the-mill slasher movie. Oh, and this guy is probably the most unlikable character in the entire franchise. I wish he got killed even better. Friday the 13th Part 7, aka Jason vs. Carrie. This is the film where the series really begins to become a parody of itself. The film returns to the good old style of the original films, which Jason Lives consciously abandoned. The problem is the old style has grown stale. The kills in number 7 are not very good. But it's not the filmmaker's fault. It's the fault of a prudish rating board that forced it to make cuts to avoid an X rating, essentially neutering the film. But the plot more or less makes the film interesting. Though absurd, the film features a pretty teenage girl who has telekinetic powers. At the end of the film, she does battle with Jason, and the battle is actually really, really good. So in a way, we have Carrie versus Jason, a ridiculous idea, but kind of fun in its own cheesy way. Despite its low points, it has 2 things going for it. One is Kane Hodder. He's the only man to don the mask more than once. He wears it in 4 of the films, and he is considered the best Jason, and I won't disagree. He brings a sort of brutal menace to the part, and a kind of angry body language. In fact, he seems perpetually angry. Jason has never been more threatening. Sadly, despite being a fan favorite, he never showed up in one of the better films. He showed up at the very end when the series was declining. Oh, actually there was one film, but we'll get to it later. The other highlight is Jason's appearance. Jason has never looked better than he does in this film. He shows a scar from every single injury, and parts of his skeleton as well. Too bad the killings weren't so well done overall. The film is solid despite all the crap the ratings board gave it. That in itself is an accomplishment. Just an observation, but why did they keep trying to make a camp out of a place where there's one massacre after another? I sure wouldn't send my kids there. But at the same time, if you've come to this series for logic, you've taken a wrong turn. See us next time when we rank the better films in the series. See you later on the Hillbilly Review channel. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. Now everybody's gonna die.